In this video, we are going to address the theme of Neste and Neste's renewable diesel products, how the business and the projects are managed. So, Petri, please tell how Neste's NextBTL business was started.
This is a very interesting question and goes back to Neste developing as a company overall. Neste has a long history in producing cleaner traffic fuels, and that has actually been the way how Neste has been developing itself from, let's say, 1980s onwards by removing harmful components from fossil products. And then, of course, at some stage there was a discussion that what are the next opportunities for a company like Neste to grow. And then at that time there was also a discussion, quite a bit of discussion, that biofuels might be something that is interesting in the global scale. And of course legislation was also developing at that time, and that prompted Neste's interest to this biofuels area.
And Neste has its own developed technology, NextBTL, next generation biomass to liquid. So how come you started pursuing this technology and started in the end building very large plants even globally to expand the capacity?
I think the first starting point was that when we recognized that biofuels is an interesting area, then we had a look at, okay, what kind of technologies are there and what kind of products are produced as biofuel. And in that area we recognized that the majority of the technologies, majority of the products were such that they were called biodiesel at that time, and they usually had worse product properties compared to what the fossil fuels at that time were having. And in Neste there was this discussion that is it interesting and is it really possible to go into that kind of business where you would be producing inferior products compared to what the fossil products are at the time. We were having, of course, all the time the dialogue with the engine manufacturers, car manufacturers, what is the direction where they want to go with their own development. And there it was clear that they were targeting to reduce emissions in the cars, and one component there was that they saw that there has to be fuels that have a higher quality and not inferior quality. And that actually led back to this consideration that we are not so much interested in entering this biofuels market with those kind of products that these traditional biodiesels were at that time, because that would have meant that the fuel properties are going wrong direction. And that was then when we started to look at what are those available technologies in the market that could be deployed for producing this kind of fuels that we were targeting. And quite quickly it became evident that there was none. There was nobody that was doing that at the commercial scale. And at the same time, Neste had already a history that we had developed some process technologies for producing gasoline components, for example, based on fossil feedstocks. So there was quite a lot of research that had been done in connected fields, and there was really the knowledge and the capabilities in the company that we could start development of new technology. And there was this path that has been done before, that we had developed technologies based on research and put them into the commercial scale. So that gave us the confidence that yes, we can take this route and we can start development of new technologies. And the outcome of that is now this NextBTL technology that we are deploying in our renewable diesel production now in several places.
Okay, and you mentioned the several places. Then eventually you started really investing and putting a lot of let's say, opportunities, but also risks at stake when you invested in Finland in 2 plants, and then to Singapore and Rotterdam, to even larger plants globally. So can you tell a little bit about how come you came to this kind of a decision to really start expanding the capacity by making these great plant investments?
Of course, the thinking was all the time that where are those product markets, and when we were looking at what are those capacities that would be relevant to serve Finnish marketplace or nearby marketplaces, then we saw that those capacities are probably smaller. And then if we want to expand and really have a significant growth of the company, then we need to be seeking possibilities for larger capacities. But of course, in the beginning, it was not at all clear that there will be several investments. It was such that we had to first know that this technology that we developed really works on the commercial scale, and therefore it was quite natural that there was first this decision that the first project and first capacity was built in Finland, in Porvoo, where we have our big fossil oil refinery. So we have existing organization, we have existing infrastructure, and we could integrate it into the existing facility. So that was quite natural, and that in that sense low risk project in that big sense, because we were investing in a very familiar environment, integrating it as a part of our normal operations there. But of course, the question there was that how in the commercial scale this technology works, and what is going to be the feedstock market, what is going to be the product market. And of course, we gained a lot of experience from this first one that allowed us to consider these other investments.
Are there some management issues that you want to address that really are connected to this great leap of taking the new technology to the production level? So for example, you have mentioned about organizational issues like the owner's team or technology office that we can come back to in our later videos. But would you like to say some of the management issues about how to manage such projects with this own and a little bit uncertain technology, and of course the great opportunities through which you can make the success?
I would say that the execution part definitely needs those parts that you mentioned, but before being able to consider how to execute the project, exactly the management decisions are related that what are those relevant capacities that we should be looking at when we are selecting the location for the plant. I mentioned that in Porvoo there were several advantages to build a facility there. But at some stage it also became clear that if the company wants to grow beyond those capacities, we need to be looking at some other location. And that of course is a totally different story in that sense that you start to consider that what is the right location. Is that a location where you don't have previously any activities? Is it going to be completely new country where you are operating? Or is it something where you have previous experience? Are you going to be there alone, investing yourself? Or are you seeking for a joint venture partner? And all these kind of very fundamental business decisions are discussed as a part of this selection process. And of course, at the same time, we were looking at what would be the relevant capacity of that kind of facility. And there we had to do simultaneously additional work on how to scale up the technology, how to scale up the facility, what are those things that need to be put in place if it's going to be a standalone facility, and how to establish the project in that kind of location. What is the process, how you acquire an industrial area where you can invest, how you get the permits in place, what kind of local regulations you have to be fulfilling. And of course, if you are establishing a new company, you have to think what is going to be the workforce that is going to be operating and maintaining the facility, and how you are going to be hiring that, and how you are going to be training and taking care of all those kind of aspects of the project.
Thank you very much, Petri, for this interview on Neste's renewable diesel products, the business and the projects, and how the project and business are connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you.